Don't worry. There's car. You can get old TV.
consequence here, don't be afraid of recording a wrong number, especially long range. They have all your always get zero.
You might like to know about it. The tour is completely different from the rest of the museum. It lets you experience the
You're supposed to see that.
Those not already aboard the helicopter, please return to the departure lounge and wait for the next flight.
The doors are closed. I don't know.
How should we get out?
The doors have just closed. Now what happens? Ah! Well, it does. What? This is awfully exciting, look.
That's let me get out.
Petty Officer Redfern again. Please wait by the helicopter exit until everyone has disembarked. Here on the flight deck, we're due to launch a Phantom from one of the flight deck catapults up towards the bow. That's at the opposite end from where your helicopter landed. Listen out for the commands of Lieutenant Commander Flying, usually known as Little F. He lives in the flying control position, Flyco, up above the deck in the island, on the opposite side from where your helicopter landed. You'll be hearing quite a bit of him, because the flight deck is under his control.
There's a helicopter.
So, move up now towards the bow, keeping the island on your right, and you'll get a great view of the whole thing. Please remember, flight decks can be hazardous environments. Watch where you're going and don't run.
This is the McDonald Band.
This is how big it is.
30 pounds of front line.
My my god.
With a top speed of 1,400 miles per hour, more than twice the speed of sound, and a rate of glide of 32,000 feet per minute, the Phantom can carry 4 Sparrow and 4 Sidewinder air-to-air missiles. Its job? To protect the fleet and escort the buccaneers on their bombing sorties. And it's about to be made ready for a combat air patrol now.
Buzzard 1, start engines.
If necessary, a Phantom can be scrambled in less than 10 minutes, raised from below decks to the flight deck, wings unfolded, and away she'll go. Of course, getting that 30 tons of metal airborne is easier said than done. On land, the Phantom requires 2,000 meters of runway. On board, we have only 250 meters of flight deck, which is why we use an immensely powerful catapult. This catapult accelerates the aircraft to its takeoff speed of 150 miles per hour in less than 2 seconds over a distance of only 75 meters. Without it, well, let's just say we'd have one very wet Phantom. The man in charge of loading the catapult is the flight deck officer, the FDO. He's standing to the front of the aircraft, and the 2 men under the aircraft are his flight deck engineers. They're nicknamed Badgers, and you can see why, wearing those black and white whistles. There's so much noise on the flight that virtually the whole operation is carried out by a series of well-drilled fancies, but it all runs like a well-oiled machine. It has to. The plane guard helicopter is in position. The Phantom pilot has received his briefing and been given his routine. In a few moments, you'll see the jet blast deflectors to the rear of the aircraft rise. They protect personnel and the flight deck itself from the heat and force of the engines. Up they go. The pilot carries out his final checks. He sets the tail plane to takeoff position. The Badger's 60 catapult drops to the underside of the aircraft. The catapult is tensioned. The pilot checks with Flyco, the flight controller.
Roger, Buzzard 1, clear the takeoff on forward gate.
The pilot signals to Flyco. The FDO signals the OK. And off she goes.
What's that? What does that? I just remember from the snag there.
Buccaneer recovery due in 1 minute. We are due to recover. Once again, my name is Petty Officer Redford, and I'm just going to explain to you what's basically about to happen. You are aboard HMS Ark Royal. As you know, it's an aircraft carrier, and to prepare it for its operational duties, it carries out a regular and intensive flying program. A lot of aircraft are launched and recovered in waves during this program. And to minimise the time the carrier is steaming into the wind, the operation needs to be very slick, with all personnel working at full stretch. We can't take you onto the flight deck during really heavy flying. However, we can show you what goes on behind the scenes to make the flying program happen. And we do have cameras located on the flight deck. I'll endeavour to keep you updated on what's happening out there, so you'll see both sides of the evolution. In fact, let's have a look at the situation on the flight deck right now. Oh, sorry, wrong button. You've got a nice shot of yourselves there, of course, but I don't expect you came here to look at yourselves on the screen. They've given me a new control panel and I'm still... just a second. Yes. We have two steam catapults, one at the bow, one on the angled deck, and they're known respectively as the bow cat and the waist cat. They can accelerate 30 tons of aircraft from 0 to 120 miles per hour in 2 seconds. You'll have seen the waist cat in action on the flight deck, launching a Phantom. You can see here the preparations to launch a Buccaneer from the bow cat. The jet blast deflector is being raised to protect personnel working behind the aircraft. Everything's ready, and the crew signals to the FDO, the flight deck officer. He gets the go from FlyCo, drops his flag, and that's the Buccaneer away. By the way, when the catapult shuttle reaches the end of the catapult, travelling at 120 miles an hour, stopping it makes quite a bang, and, as you've noticed, you can feel it through the whole ship. Very soon now, we'll get the green light above the entrance, and then we'll be going to the MCO, first of all, the main communications office. You'll see red and green lights like that throughout the tour of the island, to let us know when the next section is clear to enter. You should wait for a green each time before you go on. Please don't go past a red light. I'll normally be keeping an eye on things anyway. The island is a very busy environment, so please be ready to move on each time. Incidentally, you're not the only visitors to the ship today. We also have an inspection team on board, wreckers, we call them, who check on all sorts of functions within the ship and set up various emergencies to see how well people deal with them. If we happen to bump into them anywhere, we'll need to make sure we get out of their way pretty sharp.
Receive. This is all teleprinters in here. We handle around 300 signals a day.
Cleared the air move arrival signal to Yeovilton, RS.
Thank you.
The radio operator has just sent a signal to RNAS Yeovilton to confirm the arrival of your helicopter on board.
How many copies of this signal do we need?
Which one's that?
The one from Tide Spring confirming the rendezvous for rounds at 19:30.
Oh yes, we'll need 3, please.
If you look at the clock, by the way, you'll see a piece of history with 2 segments marked in red. In the old days, when signals were very busy, there had to be a way for emergency and distress signals to get through. The way we used to do it was every half hour, at the times marked on the clock there, we'd stop everything and listen. Now we have a special frequency, 500 kilohertz, which is used only for emergency signals and is recognized all over the world. Bit of an improvement. We'll move on now, up to the bridge. Would you please go through the door to the left, then straight ahead and up the stairs.
Now, the senior officer here is not, as you might have expected, the captain. It's the officer of the watch. During operations and most exercises, the captain is actually in the operations room because that's where he can get the quickest and most complete access to information.
Wheelhouse, bridge. Quartermaster on the wheel.
Quartermaster on the wheel, sir. Course to steer 240 by Alpha Gyro. All engines half ahead. 160 revolution set.
Very good.
The quartermaster is actually turning the wheel to change the ship's direction under the orders of the officer of the watch, of course. In fact, the quartermaster is below deck, so he can't see where he's going. He steers by compass.
Midship's? Your midship, sir. Yeah, 254. Yeah, 254. Course 254.
The ship is on a scheduled course with scheduled destinations, but for each wave of launches and recoveries, she has to turn away from her plotted course to head into the wind, so that aircraft have enough headwind for takeoff and landing. We're just turning into the wind again for the next launches. You might remember I said earlier that we work flat out to minimise the time spent steaming straight into the wind, partly because of keeping to our schedule, but also, from an enemy point of view, the ship's a bit of a sitting duck during that time.
Signal down.
And have a look at the ops room.
Captain, sir, officer of the watch. Steering designated flight course 254.
Very good. Remain on command open line.
Aye, sir.
What lots blocked? Confirm no ships in immediate vicinity.
This is Ops, the operations room, and at the centre of it all, as you can see, is the captain, keeping tabs on the whole evolution. The little room on the right is the Ops office, where the flying programmes are actually decided on, how many aircraft will be flying and when. In the Ops room here, the team are wearing their anti-flash gear as part of a war at sea exercise. As you heard, among many other things, they're keeping a watch on a surface plot, checking the positions of other shipping. This is vital, and the situation can change very fast. Occasionally, the plotters can even temporarily lose track of things. It's known as losing the plot.
We're getting quite tight now for our rendezvous with the tank, sir. Thank you, Ops. It's what time? 18:30, 19:30?
For exercise, fire, 02 Lima, 1 Ops room. Fire emergency body.
Better move you on rather quickly. Through the door to your left, please.
Stand fast. Ventilation party muster in 5 miles flat.
Right, Deck. As soon as we finish respotting and arranging for the next serial, I'll strike down a 036. VTB 036 is US, so I'll strike that down as soon as we finish respotting and arranging. That's it, 809, provide a breakdown contact.
There are two functions to look at here. ACR on the left and the line office on the right. I'll explain the line office in a minute. ACR on the left is the aircraft control room.
So you'll be arranging 034 as a replacement, right? Right. Before you start respotting? At the same time.
The ACRO here is an aircraft juggler. There are a million things that can go wrong with a complex modern aircraft, and you can't choose when it happens. If it's in the middle of the action, somebody has to work out what to do about it. This is the man.
CP, I'll now be striking down 030 as well as 036. When we start ranging, 034 can come straight on, yes?
Almost.
Well answer.
Yes, I'll line it up first and 022 to follow on.
Thank you.
He needs to know where every aircraft on the ship is at any time, on the flight deck and in the hangars, and where they're going next. Even this chap can't keep all that lot in his head. That's the reason for the scale model of the flight deck and the hangars. The model aircraft can be turned over, so green side means it's serviceable, red it's not. Oh, by the way, respotting. Spotting is positioning the aircraft on deck. Respotting is moving them to a new position, ready for relaunch, for instance. Now, if we just have a look out on the flight deck, do you remember I said the aircraft are launched and recovered in waves? Each serial normally consists of a group of launches followed by a group of recoveries. Between serials, the carrier can turn out of wind and get back on course for her destination. As you can see, we've finished the last group of launches, and now we're into recoveries. That's a Buccaneer we've just recovered. Once these recoveries are all finished, that'll be the end of this serial. Then there'll be a pause before the next serial starts with another wave of launches. Those are the launches that the ACRO is planning ahead for at the moment. And another buck, hook, wheels and flaps down. Oh, and he's missed the wires. Full power to get off again. and is clear. But he's not going to be popular. A bolter, that's what we call it when an aircraft misses the wires like that, means he has to go around for another circuit, which takes a couple of minutes, and minutes count. To your right, just while we're waiting for the green light to let us know the next area is clear for us to go through, I'd like to just mention the things you're not seeing. You're getting an idea of what goes on in the island here and on the flight deck, obviously, but that's just the most visible part. All of it is made possible by well over 2,500 other people who work on this ship, although you can't see any sign of them right now.
Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, sorry. I didn't notice you there.
Famous last words. That's one of the lads checking the pressure in the saltwater fire main. He's part of the 24-hour emergency team. Damage control of all sorts is vital on board. You can see various damage control equipment attached to bulkheads and so on. You can see some timbers. They're used for shoring up because timber is strong but flexible. As I was saying, at this very moment, on 10 decks below where you're standing, there are hundreds of people working in hangars, boiler rooms, offices, workshops. There are people cooking, cleaning, making shoes, eating, writing letters home, planning entertainments, filling teeth, painting, carrying out repairs and maintenance, and sleeping, ready to come on watch later today or tonight. Because the carrier lives a 24-hour life. She operates at all times in all weathers. Right, we can carry on. Through the door ahead, please.
Stand by for a briefing at 1500 Alpha. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time now is 1500 Alpha. Briefing for the 1600 fixed-wing launch comprising 1 Gannet Pennyface 4-3, 4 Phantoms for medium-level AI, 4 Buccaneers for a surface search and attack on the splash target. Sunset at 2030, moonset 2320. Diversion Yeovilton. Plane guard will be provided by the SAR flight for day flying. Cleopatra will be the plane guard at night.
This is the largest of 4 briefing rooms. It is used as a central briefing for fixed-wing crews, so that launch, recovery and details of the weather are only given once to several crews, which ensures that everybody knows what everybody else is doing.
Case 1 recoveries, Charlie times on the board, with Case 3 procedures in the unlikely event that we need them.
This is also the time to synchronise watches to make sure that everybody's working to the same time. Charlie time, by the way, is the time the aircraft is due to be recovered. The wheels must hit the deck within 15 seconds either way of Charlie time. One more indication of how tight the scheduling is.
Chef, back with us again?
That's right, sir. Life was a bit too peaceful, sure.
Well, welcome back.
The aircrew refreshment bar. There are 7 galleys on board. This one is for aircrew who miss out on meal times in their mess. They can get a reasonable snack to keep them going.
Not till about 30.
While we're on the subject of food, by the way, in a year, the aircrew chefs prepare about 450 tons of bread, 225 tons of meat, 34 miles of sausages.
Roger, Blue 3, I have you on my gadget. Your pigeon 09712.
Can I have your attention, ladies and gentlemen? I'll explain where we are shortly, but right now we've got a Phantom pilot who has a problem. He can't deploy his tailhook, which means he can't go use the
I have Blue 3 negative tailhook, declaring a pad. Roger.
The aircraft can't land without its hook down. The deck's far too short, and there's nowhere else to go, so the emergency procedures have to work. Otherwise, we're facing a wrecked aircraft, crew dead or injured, deck unavailable for other aircraft to land.
You hear that? Prepare for a precautionary landing on the flight deck. Assume NBCD State 2, condition Yankee. Close all watertight doors, Juliet section to the stern. 2 deck and above.
Out on the flight deck, they're about to rig the emergency barrier, which is, I'll try and show you what. Yes, the crew are there, you can see. They're heading for the stowage lockers to get the barrier and fit it to the hydraulic arms that will raise it into position.
Blue 3, Flyco is rigging the barrier for you.
And there's a second element as well, an energy-absorbing pack. You can see it being positioned by the forklift there. Emergency crews and SAR Helo standing by, of course. And the rest of the crew all clear the deck.
No smoking or naked lights throughout the ship. Air emergency party muster abreast the ACR. Ship's emergency party muster in Bravo hangar. Ventilation party muster in 4 mite flat.
The pilot, of course, will keep trying to deploy the hook. If he can't, everything's ready. I'll keep you posted, of course, on what happens. Now, this is ADR, the Aircraft Direction Room, and it's the contact point for each aircraft throughout its mission, except in the immediate vicinity of the carrier when FlyCo takes over. This is the focal point for all radio signals, just as the MCO is for all non-radio signals. Incidentally, you can see information being written up on that screen there. It's transparent so that everybody can see the info immediately without having to peer around the chap who's writing. But the result is, obviously, he has to learn to write backwards. He can pick up some funny old skills.
Request permission to recover Buccaneers. Sparrows 1 and 2. Well done, both of you.
Do you hear there? A boatswain's call. Duty watchers will muster in Bravo hangar immediately.
Forward lift to flight deck level. Stand clear of forward waist jet blast deflectors.
Harrier engine. It's low down. Yeah, this could be interesting. Surprisingly low, isn't it? For you, yeah. Oh well, I'm never going to go on, no. Well, flying. Get on, bloody electronics. Time's age, really, isn't it? It ain't very big, though, is it? Considering the thing, it's like you can reach side to side with it. That's why they're sort of £14,000 a go, weren't they? Something dark. God, look how cramped it is. Jesus, flying these things waste time, isn't it? Look at it, how small! God, it's like a bloody